that's right. We're right here at Sharp Facets Gallery, and I tell you what, I have a most interesting lady with us here today. I have Sandra Johnston. Many of you know her from working with the veterans. She is president for 2 years of the Ladies Auxiliary to the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and she is quite an accomplished person on her own and brings a lot to the veterans right here. And if it probably wasn't for Sandra getting involved, we might not have as active a ladies veterans group as we do now. So welcome to the show today, Sandra.
Thank you, Ann.
It's good to finally sit down and talk to you. I've seen you at many events doing many different things, whether it was bras for a cause.
Yes.
That was a wild one. That picture of Carrie Bolt should be blackmail.
How about Senator Nicholson?
Nicholson,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there
Yes.
you go. Some
Yeah.
of those should come back to haunt them someday.
They were marvelous gentlemen. It was so wonderful that they would do that.
Sure.
A lot of men, no way.
Yeah. Well, and some of those designs were so wild. I'm telling you, it was fun to see. That had to be a fun event to put together.
It was. We had 92 different bras. We had local artists do the bras. We had one of the sororities from Lander University do the bras. We pitched in. It was just great, just great. We had more fun and made some money.
And made some money, which is
of course that was the important part.
That's right. That's right. And of course, recently we just had the Hall of Heroes ceremony with 22 inductees into the Hall of Heroes right here in Greenwood. And one of the things that you did that I thought was so wonderful that I had never really seen performed, had no idea about, was the POW, the missing
man table.
Yes, that is was very, very meaningful, and the fact that everything on that table has an importance, all the way down to the slice of lemon.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And I know probably people have seen the article right up in the Index Journal. But what does this slice of lemon have to do with?
It signifies the bitterness of the sorrow of the families and the prisoner.
Sure. And of course, you know, sometimes you didn't even realize some of the people that were prisoners of war. I mean, in our community.
Yes.
Like Hilton Dodgen. Yeah, you know, you've known these people for years, and I think that's the wonderful thing about the Hall of Heroes is the fact that we get to celebrate everyday people that are right here among us that we never knew had done some very heroic things on our behalf.
Exactly.
So
many sacrifices made for our freedoms.
Exactly, and many families have sacrificed, and sometimes it's the families that we don't always think of. We have a tendency to think of the guys and gals that are over there, but we forget about the families.
The people left behind, exactly.
And you know, sometimes I think in truth it probably is easier to be the person on the front, shall we say, at war, than to be the family sitting at home wondering what's going on.
Waiting and wondering.
Yeah. And of course, back in the day, whether it was World War II or even Vietnam, we didn't have the connection that they have with family today.
That's right. The guys now in Iraq and Afghanistan can at least Skype home. You can see them or call.
Sure. And then that makes a big difference. So as far as what you came here just in the last few years, correct?
Yes. 2006.
2006. And how did y'all end up in Greenwood?
We started out in Beaufort.
That wasn't nice. What
Yes,
happened?
it was.
Why did you end up in Greenwood?
Well, we lived on Dawtaw Island in Beaufort, and found that it was only 7 feet above sea level when Katrina hit.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So, and the last hurricane to have hit Beaufort was 100 years plus ago. And we thought, this might be a good time to get out of town.
Right.
So we did that, and then also we found out that my husband's illness was terminal, and we wanted a good medical facility for him, and we found Self. And I am very grateful to Self for being able to, with their doctors and nurses and the treatments that he received, they extended his life at least a year longer than expected.
Wow.
So that was great for me.
That was absolutely great. Now, of course, he was in the Vietnam War.
Yes, he was.
And he suffered some of the effects of Agent Orange, I understand.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's something they're still, are they standing behind that with the military?
Yes, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, they are even finding more diseases now associated with exposure to Agent Orange.
You were telling me your husband had diabetes, and they tied that back to Agent
Yes.
Orange?
Oh, yes. That was one of the first things that they discovered.
That's phenomenal.
Yes,
I
it
didn't
is.
think that they were doing that much. But that's one thing about the military, isn't it? It is always changing with the veterans and their benefits and what they're able to do.
That's right. And one of the reasons is because of the VFW.
Is it?
Oh, yes.
Okay. What does the VFW do?
We, the national organization, has been very instrumental in making sure that veterans legislation is passed for benefits for veterans, and they're also there to make sure that any benefits denied by Congress are not denied.
Wow.
They've been instrumental in passing almost all the meaningful legislation for veterans in our country.
Wow. That is something, particularly what we just went through in the last 2 weeks with the veterans' benefits, their death benefits for those 5 or 6 I think it was, that came back into the country. That was horrible, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
And I just can't imagine why somebody wouldn't have just stepped up and signed the paperwork and put it on through, that we had to go to Ken Fisher to get him to step up. He does a marvelous job and everything, but that should have never happened.
No, it shouldn't. It absolutely should not. These men and women have guarded our freedoms. They were on the line that now lets us live the life we're living today. There were many, many sacrifices made. The worst part, I guess, to me was the fact that the cemeteries were closed.
Yeah.
My husband is buried at Arlington, and I thought if I were denied to go there to see his grave because of politics,
Right.
I'm very upset.
Absolutely. One of the things, I went on an honor flight, and I had never been to Arlington, but you go to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and then, of course, you see Arlington. You can see it all you want on TV. It is just not the same as seeing the miles after miles of markers and everything. It just really is meaningful when you actually see it in person.
I remember the first time we took my husband's granddaughter there. She was 12. And she was driving in the car. We were driving in the car, and to get to, actually, my husband's father and mother buried there also. And she glanced out the car window and she said, "Are all those dead people?" And yes. "Are they all dead soldiers?" Yes. "Oh my," she said. It was like you could just see the realization hitting her.
Exactly.
That all these people were there. They had died. They had died, many of them in combat.
Exactly. And for the freedoms and everything that we enjoy, and to see the World War II monument gated off so that nobody could go in, and then on Sunday to see the park ranger standing there welcoming each one of them after they tore down the gates, that he was standing there welcoming them. It just seems like stuff like this just shouldn't happen in our country today.
No, you're absolutely right.
And I am so glad that they had that march and took all those fencing down. The only thing I haven't found out, have they put the fencing back up?
I don't know.
But it wouldn't surprise me.
No. I haven't been home all day, been volunteering at the library.
Exactly. But our veterans are very special people, and they need to be treated most specially. And it is great that we have an organization like the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Ladies Auxiliary, doing this type of activity to make sure that we are reminded of this, because people, when they get involved in everyday life, we have a tendency to forget.
Exactly. Yes, you're right.
So we're going to be talking more about what Sandra does with the Veterans Organization, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. She is the president over there. We're going to talk about some of the things that have just happened, some of the things coming up, and we certainly hope you will stay right with us right here on WCRS. But right now we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Oh, that's right. We're right back here. Sharp Facets Gallery do want you to know that Sandra and I, of course, have just been talking about the fence up there. And our good friend Kay Dowling called in this afternoon. And Kay, we're glad you're listening. And she told us that they did put the fence back up around the monument. I cannot believe this. And they now have people standing there guarding it which is actually costing more money to have this going on. So obviously they're not understanding how fervently our people feel about our veterans and our monuments, particularly an open-air monument that was not built, I believe, with taxpayer money. It was not built, was it? The World War II monument was built by
private donations.
Private donations.
Mm-hmm.
So why should the government be doing this? We do not understand. But we understand that y'all are upset out there. I'm upset too. We got a lot to talk about here this afternoon. If you want to call, don't hesitate to call though and give us your opinion. Hey, that's great. 229-7984. That's 229-7984. But Sandra, I understand that you got a degree in nursing.
Yes.
But you didn't have any idea what nursing was about. How did this happen?
I was raised in rural Pennsylvania. My father was a steel worker, and going to college for me at the time was out of the question financially. So I had a choice between being a secretary, a nurse, or a wife. And the secretarial part didn't appeal at all. The wife part definitely did not appeal at that time at all. And so I chose to go to nursing school, and at that time it was a 3-year program, hospital program. I had no idea what I was getting into.
That's kind of scary, isn't it?
It was. But I knew that I needed to get out of Felsburg, Pennsylvania.
Right.
So, fortunately for me, when I got there, I loved it. I was absolutely fascinated with everything that I had to do, and we did a lot of everything.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did you want to be, though, before you decided to go into nursing?
Well, Anne, I wanted to be a radio announcer. Just
How
like
about
you.
that? How about that? Very neat. Yeah. All right. Well, that's well, it didn't work out for that, but you did go on and become a nurse, and had some, I'm sure, some fabulous experiences. Now, how did you meet your husband?
I met my husband in a little theater group.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I went to a performance at a Unitarian church, and he was in the play, and I thought, oh my goodness, isn't that a handsome man?
So I guess you waited backstage for him afterwards, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, okay, and the story
Well, actually, I
continued.
joined the little theater group.
That was one way to get in there. Exactly. Well, that's pretty cool. Now, your husband was in the Vietnam War, but you met him after.
Yes.
That's
yes,
right.
I did.
So you weren't, of course, part of that, but you know, when we look at how our veterans are treated today and how they were back in Vietnam, it really is amazing that it's taken that bad treatment of our Vietnam vets to get to the, I'll say, the good treatment today of our veterans, and the thank you and the participation that individuals play with our veterans now.
I'd like to tell you a little story about my husband's experience. When he was finished his tour, he was shipped to California from Vietnam to make his way back home to Maryland. And he had his uniform on, because that's the way they had to travel.
Sure.
When he hit the airport in California, he was harassed. He was called a baby killer. He was called all those terrible things that the Vietnam vets, some of them, experienced. He went into the restroom. He took off his uniform. He had a pair of sweatpants or old jeans or something and a T-shirt. They threw the uniform away.
See, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
That is horrible.
Yeah.
And to be made to feel that bad. But we know those stories, and we've heard many of those stories.
Mm-hmm.
But it really brings it home, doesn't it, when it's somebody that you know
Yes.
that went through this.
And he never talked about his experiences in Vietnam. Oh, well, he did. He talked about the fun stuff, the mischief that the guys got into, and the leave that they had, and some of the things,
like
that kind of stuff. But and Chuck was a medic.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yes, and he was stationed in a place called An Khê, which I understand was a site of a lot of fearsome fighting.
Wow. Yeah, we really can't understand what they went through. I talked to somebody one time, and I said, you know, why won't you guys talk about it? And he said, Anne, unless you were there, unless you were part of it, you're just not going to hear the stuff that you think you want to hear, because it's very private.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. These men become very close. They watch each other's back. That's not just a cliche. their lives, they hold the lives of each other in their hands. And I know toward the end of my husband's life, he, as I said, he never spoke about his experiences in Vietnam, but he asked me to find a veterans group in Greenwood. We'd never been involved before.
Okay.
And I couldn't figure out what in the world, why.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I just want to talk to some guys. I want to talk. And I did.
Right.
And I would take him to the meetings in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
He was, again, that sick. And I'd watch him, and he'd be talking to and I tried to listen to some of the conversations, and I couldn't understand them because it was almost as if they talked in code. They had these numbers of these things, and
all different divisions and all that kind of
all
stuff.
of that. And he was just
Animated.
In his glory, yes. He bought the hat, and he had the ribbons, and he had all these things. He was one of the inductees, in the Hall of Heroes
Yes,
system.
I know it was, yeah. So, it is therapeutic, but then there's so many, particularly I think from the Vietnam era, that just have it kind of locked away
Yes,
and just kind of,
and they suffered for it.
yes, I think you're right. So the veterans, so you ended up here, and what made you get involved in the veterans group here? Was it your husband getting into that veterans group?
Yes, yeah, it was. And the way that I was treated, when he was ill, they came to visit him in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
They brought food to our house. And then when he died, they were there for his funeral. Afterwards, they called me. They made visits to me. And I thought, I need to do something with my life. Chuck and I were very close. We had a very, very good relationship. And because of the closeness, we were a bit isolated. And then he died just 2 years after we got here, and he was sick, very sick, the second year we were here. So I didn't have an opportunity to make very many friends. So I thought, I want to do something meaningful with my life. Being a nurse, I'm a service-oriented person anyway, and I thought, let me go back to the veterans group and see what's happening, what I can do.
How you can get involved.
Yeah, and see some of the people that he talked with before that knew him. So, the rest is history.
The rest is history. And so Our Lady's Auxiliary here had actually become dormant. Is that correct?
It was. They had meetings and whatever, but they weren't really doing very much in the community. It was more of a support group within themselves.
And of course, when we got the new veterans building, the old library, that really had to have become almost the catalyst to make things really happen.
That helped. Before that, we had been meeting in the Turner House with on the Presbyterian Church property. Yes, we really got together and did remarkable things there. Anybody who's ever been to the basement of the old library, come on down and look at it now.
It's totally different.
Totally different.
I mean, you wouldn't even believe it was the same building. It's clean. It's been painted. It's just new carpet in the building. Mm-hmm. It's just, it looks like a totally different place. It would be hard to remember that was a library now, wouldn't it, Sandra?
Yeah, it certainly would be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although we do have pictures.
Yeah.
we did the befores and the afters.
Right. But, and we've got to give, I think, all of the veterans groups in there have really gotten together and pulled together. But I understand Carrie Bolt was the one that kind of spearheaded this thing and made it come together.
Carrie has done wonderful things for our veterans. He certainly has. And he still is. He's still doing things. We're starting a museum now, not the VFW, but
the Hall of Heroes
for the
Museum.
Hall of Heroes Museum, exactly. And Carol Scales is head of that committee.
Carol's a wonderful person.
Yes, she is. She's a real corker, isn't she?
She's a real corker. I like that. Yeah, I think she would like that actually.
Carol and I know each other. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yes, the museum is scheduled to open on the 11th of November. Is that?
Or is it the 10th?
10th, I'm sorry, you're right.
It's on a Sunday,
10th.
isn't it?
The 11th is the official Veterans Day, but it's a Sunday, yes, and that's the same day we're having the Veterans Parade, which will start at 3 o'clock.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk all about all the events upcoming, all the good things happening there. I certainly hope you'll stay right with us right here on WCRS. Right now it's time for the news. Hey, give us a call if you got a question or a comment that we can put on the air. 229-7984.
Ugh, are you a pirate or a pack rat? Do you have a vacation of a lifetime sitting in the attic? Or a college tuition hung on a wall? Or is a fabulous retirement hidden in your jewelry box? Bring those items to Sharp Facets Gallery. We can establish value and buy from you or sell for you. And so ends another chapter at Sharp Facets Gallery, 72 Bypass, and on the web, sharpfacets.com.
Oh, that's right. We're right back here, Sharp Facets Gallery, talking about Vietnam veterans and just what all they have gone through and are still out there serving our country in many, many different ways. And, you know, one of the things we always like to say is thank you to all our veterans for all the things you've done for us and continue to do for us. You know, that ceremony that we had for the Hall of Heroes, what a great cross-section of people in that. I mean, we had Korean veterans, we had POWs, we had some from Afghanistan. I mean, there was every group.
World War II.
World War II was also there. So it is amazing how many generations we have right here in our area. And someone brought up a very good point to me. Actually, I think it was Carol Scales, that for many areas of the country, all they have is World War I, World War II. We go all the way back to the Revolution here in South Carolina.
We've covered it all.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And for those of you that don't know, the museum, they are looking for donations, and every Thursday afternoon they are down there taking in donations for the Hall of Heroes Museum. Like you said, Sandra, they are going to open it up on Sunday, November 10th. And of course, that's the same day as the parade. So let's talk about some of the things that are coming up or things that y'all are working on. First off, I just want to say, hey, it sounds like you did really well with your bridge.
Yes, we did. Yes. Oh, it was a wonderful day. Wonderful day. And we not only had bridge players, we had triominoes, we had mahjong, we had one other thing. Oh, Mexican train.
Mexican train. See, you're talking a foreign language to me. I don't even know. I know bridge. I've played bridge before. Used to play that in college and certainly enjoyed that. But and you had the gal that was here was she from Seneca?
Yes.
Yes. Miss Calicott.
Yes.
Is that right?
98 years old.
Yes.
And it was her birthday.
How fun is that?
Oh, goodness. And she was beautiful. She was just a wonderful, wonderful woman, sharp as a tack. She had a great time. We did too. With her.
That's terrific. And how much money did you raise?
Roughly? We're probably going to clear about $1,200. We had a lot of. We were fortunate to get a lot of financial donations.
That's great. That's great. And what will you be putting the money towards?
Half the money will be going to our Cancer Aid and Research Program, and the other half will be going to Veterans and Family Services.
Now, what is Veterans and Family Services? What do you do?
Well, locally, we, for instance, we have a homeless shelter here in town, the Kynard House, and it houses honorably discharged veterans who are homeless. They go through some counseling and job training. They go out and find jobs, and then once they're on their feet financially, they go and get housing. And when they graduate, as we call it, we fix them a basket, a housewarming basket.
That's nice.
We take a large laundry basket and we put in sheets and towels and pillowcases and pillows and a comforter, dishes, tableware, paper towels, even toilet paper.
Wow.
Just so they can get started in their new home.
All the things that you need that you don't always, and guys particularly, may not think of.
That's right. That's right. But it's expensive. The baskets can cost about $150 to put together.
Wow.
So if there are any church groups out there, circles,
yes,
or Boy Scout or Girl Scout troops who would like to donate some of the equipment that we put in the basket, we would be very, very grateful.
Well, you'll have to leave me a list, and I will
Just
talk
happen to
about
have
it. I figured you might.
Just happen to
This
have
is a woman that came to this show totally organized, folks. But sure, I'll talk about that on my radio shows and see how we can get you some help to get those together. That would be great. Now, other things that y'all do with the veterans, the Ladies Auxiliary.
Well, when we find out that one of our veterans' families, veteran or the family, has a illness in the family, we bring meals to them. Small things like that we do. We attend funerals. One of the things also that our chaplain is doing now is whenever a veteran comes to the hospice house calls us, and she goes over there and she presents the family with a flag
Oh, very nice.
and a little note from us, and we'll also, if they care to, do prayers with her.
Wow.
So we have had about, we're getting close to 30 veterans now that we've presented flags to families.
That's really nice. You know, the flag in today's, you know, I don't know how our young people are. How do you think our young people are as far as patriotism and caring about our veterans and whatnot? What do you think?
I'm afraid that things are sadly lacking in that department.
You know, I'm very concerned about the fact that, let's see, they don't actually have civics anymore.
No.
They have, what was somebody told me, government econ. But that's not the same as civics, I don't think.
No, they don't get the basics of how our country's organized.
Right.
And some of them we've run across don't even know the pledge to the flag, which,
That is unbelievable.
so that's another one of the things that we do.
What do you do?
We take those programs into our schools. We talk about the Constitution. We talk about the flag. In fact, I think it's November. I don't know the right date. I'm sorry. But I'm going to Rice Elementary School for the PTO meeting, and we're going to do flag folding and talk about what each of the folds of the flag mean. There are 13 folds to our flag when it's put in that tri-corner look.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to do the pledge to the flag, and maybe even sing the national anthem, which is another thing a lot of people don't know the words to. So
Oh,
we're
good.
going to get to that elementary school, and each one of those kids is going to go home with a flag too.
You know, when I was on the honor flight, one of the parts that I know the veterans enjoyed so much was when we went to go into the World War II memorial, that there was a line of kindergarten and maybe first graders there with flags that were singing and thanking them and this type of thing. It was really awesome. It really touched your heart. And then within the monument, at the World War II monument, I was surprised how many, I'll say junior high to high school students came over to a veteran, shook their hand and said, "Thank you for your service."
Oh, wonderful.
It was wonderful, and it was very surprising because just out of the blue they would just walk up and say this, and I don't think it could have been orchestrated. I think it just had to have been something that they just did, and it does make you feel good. But you do worry about where our country is going from the standpoint of the pride and understanding. You know, one of the things about South Carolina, we are very military oriented, I will
Yes.
say.
Mhm.
I don't think every state in the Union is that way.
I don't think so either.
And having been from Maine, I don't remember the patriotism that you feel here, that I ever felt that in Maine. And of course, I actually was growing up during the Vietnam War, and I don't remember the same feeling that we have when a group of active duty military comes back, or when a group goes away, the response and the outpouring that there is.
Mhm. Well, I think our experience with World War II, the whole country was involved with that war. With Korea, not so much. When Vietnam came along, the country was divided. And I think that's the problem,
Yeah.
or that was the problem. And now I think people have understood that men fight for their country, regardless of what the political situation is.
This is true.
And women. Excuse me for forgetting our female veterans.
Absolutely. Well, we are here with Sandra Johnston. She is the president of the Ladies Auxiliary for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. We're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to be talking more about what's going on, how you can get involved, how you can help out. So why don't you stay right with us right here on WCRS. How about if you've got a question or a comment, give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We'll be right back. Oh, that's right. We're right back here, Sharp Facets Gallery. My very special guest today is Sandra Johnston. She is the president of the Ladies Auxiliary for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Now, why is it called the Veterans of Foreign Wars, just out of curiosity?
Because that's who we are. That's part of the membership obligation, or eligibility actually, that the service member must have been in a combat area on foreign soil.
Yeah, so far we haven't started fighting each other.
No, but
So, yes, exactly.
well, I don't know. We've been taking some of these phone calls. And
Yeah, it could be a problem.
It could be a
folks,
problem.
But that's why it's called, because every war that we've fought has been on
basically
foreign
on foreign soil. Yes, but not all of our veterans have been there.
Right.
So that's it was formed to actually to provide benefits for the people who were coming back from combat, who had no access to hospitals, to pensions, to any kind of disability.
How long is Veterans of Foreign Wars as an organization? Do you have any idea?
I know the Ladies Auxiliary has been in existence for 100 years, so the VFW has probably another 20 years before that.
Wow.
In fact, we're celebrating our 100th birthday on September of next year.
How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, pretty cool.
You want to come to the party?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely,
we're going to have a
I
big
do.
one. It's going to be a big celebration.
Absolutely. That sounds terrific. But so as far as helping out and doing things, you said you wanted to talk a little bit more about the honor flights. What can you tell us?
Yes, well, we participated in the homecoming for one of the honor flights, and as
At
each
Greenville or
at
Columbia?
Greenville,
Okay.
Greenville. And as each veteran came off the plane or came down the ramp there, we presented them with this coin,
Yes. Oh,
and it's a coin that we give any veteran.
to the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Very nice. We thank you for your service and pray for your continued safety. That's
Yes.
very nice. Very, very nice. And
We're presenting that to you.
What, to me?
Yes,
Thank
you're,
you.
you're on the front lines right here.
Thank you very much,
So you're a
Sandra.
combat veteran.
Wow, thank you very much. Sometimes I feel like a combat veteran, even though I've never done that, but sometimes I do.
Actually, you need to give that to your husband. I should have given it to him.
Absolutely, I will.
Yeah, not that.
You know, when we were there in Washington, D.C., they were playing 1940s music.
Oh.
The gals were dancing with the guys, and the guys that couldn't stand, that were in wheelchairs, no problem, the gals were dancing with them and having a great time. And it was so amazing to see the outpouring of people that came to, when they knew an honor flight was coming in. Throngs of people were there to thank the vets for their services. They came off the plane, and then of course we got on the bus. You couldn't want for anything on these trips. I mean, they were right there. Did you need a water? They had snacks, just a fabulous treatment and everything. And then when we came back, we actually flew out of Columbia. When we came back into Columbia, what a ceremony they had there for the vets. And, one of the things Kerry always told me, and I found it to be true, that when he would be taking a group of vets down to Columbia or something, they all sat a little taller and they all perked up and really were like they were school-age guys. Well, that was the same thing I saw on the honor flights. The guys were just like, they weren't 75 or 80 years of age. They were 30.
Exactly. Yeah. In their minds, they were. Yes.
Yes, they were, and
Yes.
they were animated and excited,
Yes.
and it was great to see. And I think that's what the veterans organizations do for guys here, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the things those coins do. I pass them out all over town. Not just
Right.
I see a gentleman, say in Lowe's, with a cap on, and it'll say whatever, and I'll go up to him and ask him if that's where he served, and he's yes, and I'll shake hands with him and leave the coin in his hand. And that's part of a military tradition, I understand, that they have these, what they call challenge coins, and things happen in the various clubs or whatever with these coins. And when I leave them, they don't look at the coin immediately, but I peek over my shoulder, and they look down and they see what it is, and they get this big grin on their faces.
And they stand a little
Yeah,
taller.
and it makes me feel so warm inside.
It does. It does. And that's what you saw at the Hall of Heroes for the guys and gal that were inducted into that. You could see the guys standing a little taller as they went across that stage. Yeah,
Memories flooding into their minds, I'm sure.
absolutely. Well, what else can you tell us that you'd like us to know about the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Ladies Auxiliary?
Well, let's see. We have an awful lot of different programs going. We have we've already talked a little bit about Veterans and Family Services. We have some scholarship programs that I'm very
Scholarships?
excited. Oh yes, we have money for scholarships.
How about that?
One is called the Alice Hutto Scholarship, and it was named after one of the past presidents of the state organization. It's a nursing scholarship, And you have to have completed your first semester in nursing school. And you have to have a 3.0 average, and you have to have a letter of endorsement by one of your instructors, probably your favorite one.
Would be good.
Yes. And you can, if you are chosen, you have to write a small essay as to why you became a nurse. Thank goodness I didn't apply for that one, because I couldn't explain why I became a nurse. But
Choice number 3.
choice number 3.
Sandra.
That's me.
Okay.
But you can win a $1,000 scholarship.
That's terrific. That's terrific.
And then-
Now, is there an open time? I mean, when do they get to apply for this? Any particular time? Or
They
do you
can,
know?
well, they can apply now for next year, because I think the cutoff date right now, well, they can apply now. The cutoff date is the 1st of November.
Wow.
But unfortunately, we got here a little too late. We've advertised it a little bit.
Okay.
There's 2 more. One's called Patriots Pen, and the other one is Voice of Democracy. And then these 2 also, the deadline will be November 1st. But Patriots Pen is for grades 6 through 8, and it's an essay contest. And these young people can win up to $5,000.
Wow.
Now, this one is the Voice of Democracy, and it's, first of all, the theme, there's a theme for each one of these. For Patriots Pen is what patriotism means to me. And on Voice of Democracy, it's why I'm optimistic about our nation's future, which I think is a very timely topic right now.
Absolutely it is.
It's for grades 9 through 12, and these people record their speech,
How about that?
and then they're judged. We have had 2 winners from South Carolina within the last 4 years, and they each have won $30,000 scholarships.
No, Sandra. Next year, because we're too close to November 1st, but next year, I think the radio should be involved in that, because that's something they have to record, and maybe we can help promote that and get them a good recording, and let's do it upright out of Greenwood.
That would be fantastic.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yes, indeed. Okay.
So let's do that for next year.
You're on.
You're on. I figured I would be.
Yes, indeed.
But that sounds like a great
wonderful.
one. Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe we can
Thank you.
provide some winners. $30,000. That's definitely
Yep,
is
right
a
here from
huge.
Greenwood. We can do it.
Absolutely. That sounds terrific. We're on for that one. We'll work on that for next year. Sounds great.
Okay.
All right. Other things that we've only got a few minutes left. What else would you like to get
I
out
want
there?
to talk a little bit about our hospital program. I told you a little bit about hospice, but we have one of our ladies, Dolores Satterfield, is a driver for a van that goes from Greenwood to Augusta.
They were just looking for drivers for weren't they? Yes.
Yes, because
Okay.
one of the drivers is retiring now, Fred Malone. Yeah.
Right.
So she logs in about 1,000 miles a month or more, because she has to go around and pick up all the different people, take them down to Augusta, get them to wherever they have to be, stays with them all day long, brings them back, takes them all back home again. And she
Wow.
does this 2 and 3 times a week. She's a phenomenal lady. She's really
Unbelievable.
one of our
You know, it makes you wonder
members.
why people do stuff like that, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
I
driving
mean-
anyway. But
Yeah, but I mean, you know, any type of service where somebody commits to do these things, you really have to take your hats off to them and
Yeah.
say thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. And even that isn't enough, but that's what we can do, is to say thank you.
There's one more thing I'd like to talk about, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Put a little plug in again.
Sure.
We're having a craft fair at the end of the month, the last Saturday, which is the 26th, I believe, at the Veterans Center.
Okay.
And we have a lot of local vendors that will be displaying their wares and hoping that you'll come and buy them all. We have a hot dog supper going on downstairs in the meeting hall, and there's also going to be a bake sale down there.
Oh, the good stuff down
The
there.
good stuff down there. And some of that money will be going toward the, the Hall of Heroes and the museum are incorporated.
Right.
So some part of that money will be going to that corporation to provide funds to keep things going there for the Hall of Heroes and the museum.
Sure, and they also have become a 501c, and they're going to be able to start selling the bricks.
The pavers.
Pavers, yes.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful granite pavers, not brick.
Yes.
They are beautiful. If you want to see one of them, or 3 of them actually, they are at the Veteran Services offices, and they have my husband's name on them, which is...
I saw them at the Hall of Heroes at the ceremony, weren't they there?
Yes.
Yes, you're right, yes. That's terrific. And of course, people will be able to buy these pavers.
Unfortunately, they're not priced yet, so don't call in at this,
Okay.
or don't call them
But
yet.
somebody, as soon as you get it, because I know people are waiting for this, let me know, and I'll be sure to get the word out
I've already
there.
bought mine.
You're
but-
right.
It's already there.
It's
just got
already
his
there.
name on it.
But they're going to pave that whole area out front.
Yes, and it's going to be quite spectacular when we're finished with it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
lots of good plans for that area.
All right. Well, we are here at WCRS right here in Greenwood. I do want to say a couple more things. Adding the flagpoles out front, wasn't that nice? The Woodmen of the World getting those flagpoles in there.
You ought to see the kitchen they provided for us
I did.
downstairs.
I've seen it.
It's
Very,
great.
very nice.
So grateful to them.
And so many good projects going on there. You got a couple others we'll run over here.
Yes, I want to tell you about Buddy Poppies. Do you know about the poppy drive? You've seen the red poppies that
Sure.
went out? A lot of people, though, don't know that we buy those poppies from veterans in hospitals and nursing homes. They make them. They're handmade.
I did not know that.
Not very many people know that.
Okay.
And so your when you see us on the street corners or wherever with our little cans, your donations would be very, very much appreciated, because the more poppies we sell, the more poppies we get to buy from those men and women, and that's income for them.
Wow.
It doesn't go to the hospital; it goes directly to those people.
Wow. How
Nice
about
things.
that?
And
Yes.
so that'll be coming up. We've talked about the Veterans Day Parade. There's just one other little thing I'd like to talk about. Well, two actually. Do we have time
Sure,
for two?
we're going to run it over for
Okay,
you,
I'm
Sandra.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm
More
sorry.
interesting than the news, isn't it? Yeah, probably.
Well, if you have not seen the textile monument that the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the Ladies Auxiliary erected to honor the textile workers who worked during World War II to supply material for uniforms and other military items, they 24-hour shifts,
They worked
7
hard,
days
yeah.
a week. They worked hard, and this monument, we believe, is the only one of its kind in the United States.
And it's right there in...
It's right there in front of the textile building, which is near Howard's,
Right.
and next to the War Memorial.
Exactly.
So I wanted to get that, and we had a rededication of it last year
Yeah, I
for its
remember
25th anniversary. Yeah.
And of course, the parade is coming up. Now, you'd like everybody to get involved in the parade.
Oh, please, yes. If you've got an old vehicle, or if you are a Boy Scout troop, Girl Scout troop, Boys Club, Girls Club, any of those organizations, any of the civic organizations, Kiwanis, Lions, whomever, please.
We need a big show
come on.
this
We
year.
need a big show this year, absolutely, especially since we're opening up the museum,
Yes.
and we want everybody back there for a reception.
Who's in charge? Let's see. Are you helping get this parade going?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. I'm part of
Now,
the coalition.
Okay. Now, what's your telephone number if people
Oh.
want to call you, Sandra?
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
864-223-5266.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
822-5266 right here in Greenwood.
Yes, and Fred Malone is also, he's the real organizer of the parade, but I don't have his number, unfortunately.
You know, Fred sat next to me at the Hall of Heroes ceremony.
Did he?
Yep, he held one of my recorders for me through most of the ceremony.
He is a wonderful man.
He
And
is.
you know what? He can fit in his original uniform still.
That's right. That's right. It's pretty amazing, those guys that can, let
Yes.
me tell you.
He's the one, if you've been to our Memorial Day services out at Oak Brook Cemetery, he's the one who rings the bell when we announce the names of all the deceased members of that year.
You know, it really must, since your husband has passed, to have this support group and this organization that you work to must keep you close to your husband.
Yes, it does, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet that does.
I hear him saying, Sandra, slow down.
Well, Sandra, we're real glad you came out here today. We're also real glad that you took over to become the president and bring this organization back to life. How many members do you have right now?
56. We inducted 4 new ones last night.
How about that? Congratulations.
Thank
And of course, to become a member, what do you need to be?
You must be related to a veteran who has served in combat or in a combat area. Mother, your father, grandfather, son.
So any blood relative, I guess.
A blood relative, yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
So if you'd like to be part of that, make sure you give Sandra a call. It certainly is a worthwhile organization, and a lot of good feeling comes back out of doing things out of respect for our veterans.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. 223-5266. Sandra Johnston, thanks so much for coming out. We're going to be working with you and talking to you more, so thanks so much.
And it was my pleasure. Thank you very much for your support of our veterans.
Thank you. All right, this is WCRS right here in Greenwood. I think we blew through the news, so thanks so much for listening today. I'll be back in the morning. Bye-bye, everybody.